Welcome to the Good Rookie Show. My name is Faheem.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are good rookie.
That's right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's the Good Rookie Show.
Yep. Let's go.
Yep. Y'all, what's going on, y'all? First Tuesday in December, Faheem.
Mhm.
Okay, this is crazy. But a lot has happened. Okay, I got some messages from folks asking for some topics to discuss for him. So they want to get our thoughts on what happened. So I'm happy we can, kind of cover some of these off real quickly. So, first topic, of course, is the World Cup.
Mhm.
World Cup. So, Team Canada, as everyone knows, we had three matches, lost all three. And I mean, Belgium, Croatia, and then our last matchup. And guys, this just happened today, so don't come after me. Our last matchup was against Morocco. Yes, Morocco. So we lost to all three. We did make two goals though in two of the games, which is great to see. I think the first goal, Alfonso Davies. The question is, where were you on Sunday when that goal happened? Think about that. Big up to him. So yeah, like I don't know. A lot of again for him. Okay, so we lost all our games. Okay, we had three losses, had two goals. Um, but that Belgian game, I think, was really the starting of we had quite a few opportunities. I will say for him
Mhm.
to even beat or tie or win. Maybe that what we needed for confidence or something. But yeah, that Belgium game was a huge L. But not even Belgium made it into the second round of group of 16. So, Fahim, what your thoughts on Team Canada and how they performed in the World Cup?
Yeah. So this comes down to how do I say this? My expectations. Let me start with something positive. Very proud of the program. Just to say we've made it, and there's some legit reason to be optimistic for the future, right? Coming in though, I didn't expect this. I thought we might have got out the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was before even the first game. Once I saw the first game, I was really encouraged by the loss and said, this team's gonna, as much as we lost in regards to points and lost the game, uh, we really won respect. You know, we outshot Belgium. Belgium's one of the top teams, and we looked on par. So second game, I understand where the energy was coming from, to say, you know what, we should be able to beat Croatia. And it's funny when you mentioned about where you were when the first goal happened. Um, the game was this 11 o'clock game. I ended up tuning into the game maybe realistically about, I don't know, 11:15 ish. So by the time I came in, I turned on the TV, and it was still maybe, I don't know what, 8 minutes into the game. I figured that's enough if I'm gonna watch them 8 minutes on. It said 1-0. I was like, 1-0. We scored? I didn't even know we scored. Stay away from my phone, so I didn't see anything. I didn't see the goal until halftime. And I was feeling encouraged, thinking, okay, we got this. We lost. Obviously, the momentum toward the end of the game changed, and we lost the game. Even so, now the last game against Morocco, which really didn't matter for much.
Mm-hmm.
Lost that also, win or loss. I mean, getting a win would be nice, but at the end of the day, I'm just going to say, I'd expected more, but I'm still proud of where we're going with soccer in Canada. I'll land there.
Yeah, I mean, there were moments of first of all, they were competing. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking all the games they played, they were competing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That Croatia game, they were really playing some really good defense. I don't think we had
Mm-hmm.
that much shots on target or shots in general. I think we had less than them. And like they were into that. I think they had a lot of fouls too. But anyway, yeah, look, like I just think for me, for him, my expectation was to play.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't expect us to win. I'm sorry. Like I was
Oh,
not.
no, 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 no.
I
And
mean,
mhm. Winning wasn't in the cards for
but
anybody.
but but
Right.
even but even getting into Group 16, I didn't think that either. Like I'm someone who's been watching
Mm-hmm.
the World Cup since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Even maybe my dad, because he watched it in the 80s, but the
Mm-hmm.
90s, like watching it and understanding what I was watching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's so I mean, if you're a soccer fan and you kind of follow soccer and you're aware of all the star athletes in the world, some teams have like 4 Alfonso Davies for him or 5. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
we were not going to um like win, but I did want us to compete, like just play hard, like try our best. And I don't think we did our best. I really think we could have definitely gotten a 1-on-1 with Belgium for sure. I think Croatia, I think we got into our heads, and I think the whole media thing and the coach, bless his heart, he's like F, like he was being playful with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they took it personally, right? We talk about it, taking things personally, and they're like, hey, thank you, coach, because for your comment, it made us want to even beat you more. And that's the thing with what athletes in sports, Faheem. What you gotta watch what you say in the media, because certain athletes will use that against you and whoop you, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing. But Croatia, they killed us. And then Morocco, I mean, it was a good game. I think Morocco is one of our better games. Maybe because we're more loose, more comfortable. It is what it is. But I'm not disappointed in this team. I'm very happy that they made it this far. And like you said, it's a stepping stone for them to get even further down the road.
Yeah.
Right. So I like
Yeah.
for that's my biggest thing was like great the men's soccer team, because the women's soccer team, they're ranked 7th in the world. Like these girls are lit. The men's,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, they're the reigning Olympic champions. So the men though, they haven't been doing so well. So I'm just happy that
Right.
we're in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been I've been watching since I guess the 80s. Like that was literally yeah, it would be like the early 80s. So yeah, early 80s. Every year, same. And all I can say is it's never been expected that Canada's supposed to be there, after whatever happened 30 some odd years ago. Um, and you always have your usual suspects every year. The
Hmm.
usual suspects seem to be there once again. Nothing new.
No, not
Uh,
Germany or Belgium.
right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So,
Hmm.
in regards to, if there was any time for maybe a Cinderella story for Canada, it would have been, I felt, maybe this World Cup, because of the fact that you do have others who are upsetting. And,
Yeah, but
but
look
I
at
mean,
those
it
teams,
wasn't our
man.
cards.
Even
That's
Japan
fine.
had good players, man.
Hmm.
Japan team ain't no
Yeah.
joke either.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
don't know, man. I
Yeah.
really think it's who knows, who knows.
Hmm. What can you do?
Who knows? But I do want to bring up one other topic because someone asked me as well to talk about this today. Um, LeBron's comments, real quick. LeBron in a
Hmm.
comment, he asked the media, "Why don't y'all ask me the same thing about Kyrie, about Jerry Jones, which we talked about for him in length the last
Hmm.
episode,
Love it.
119."
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on LeBron calling the media out? I mean, we've been calling them out for a while
Hmm.
now, actually.
Hmm.
So welcome to the train, LeBron. But
Right.
what's your thoughts for him on LeBron saying, "Hey, why aren't y'all down my throat about Jerry Jones by Kyrie?"
Hmm. Uh, so LeBron, he's hmm, LeBron's at a stage right now where he's building his business portfolio, right? So he has to be very mindful on
This guy.
no, he has to be mindful in regards to the decision he makes. And I completely get it. I mean, you like Michael Jordan was one who shied away from any type of social aspect because of the fact that he knows it affects business. LeBron, for the most part, he's dabbled
How
in
about
social.
Kobe? Kobe didn't talk about social stuff, did he? I feel
Yeah,
like people
yeah,
always
yeah.
bring up LeBron. They bring up,
Right.
but I feel like when Shaq was playing, he didn't do it. When
Mhm.
Charles Barkley, did he do it? Like people always
Mhm.
say Michael Jordan. I get it, he's a big name, but I'm like, so many
Well,
other athletes never did it. But go ahead, go ahead.
right, right. Well, the reason why I compared those two, when they talk about goats, that those are
I
conversations
know.
that are
I'm just
happening.
saying they
So yeah,
always
yeah,
bring
yeah.
up like
Mhm.
everyone goes to Michael, but they never
Yeah,
bring up the other guys who played in his
right.
era. Anyways,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So with LeBron coming out and saying this, it's clearly LeBron obviously would have discussed with his team, and his team would have to clarify. And so, what I do like though is LeBron is stepping up one. So shout out to LeBron for that. There's been others. Someone's actually told me this. I thought that was a very good point. They're saying, it's great that he's doing this, but there are other issues also. For instance, the Jerry Jones one. Um, That one and that he did bring up, sorry, and the one that he didn't bring up, say, for instance, the Brett Favre. That would have been one where, that
I think Brett
includes.
Favre was brought up like a while ago though for him. That's
Oh,
old.
you did? Okay.
Yeah, like not LeBron, but I remember like it
Well, that's
would
what
have
I'm
been
saying.
way
I'm
before.
saying,
And the reason why, to be honest, for him, that's different beast because the FBI is involved. And when
okay.
the
Yeah.
FBI is involved in things,
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
even want to talk about it.
Right.
The
So,
FBI has like tracking devices on all those other cases, and
right.
I think they have like one of the highest closed cases like in the world.
Oh, for sure.
So
I get it.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's because of, but yeah, that has been in the media for a while. But
Mm.
I'm just saying, like, because Kyrie was just like literally 3 weeks ago, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
and this came out, like, I think the media was very slow to respond, very slow.
Mhm.
Like
Right.
when Ime, like for example, when Woj dropped that tweet about Ime, the Score had an article about it within 5 minutes,
Mhm.
right? When the picture about Jerry Jones came out, I think it came out the next day. The next day, and only now, and then after LeBron brought it up to yesterday, last night, it's now on the media today. Like they're actually
Mhm.
talking about, and then of course, Stephen A. Smith commented afterwards, but even his comment was more like, "Yo, keep it easy. He's old, whatever." I'm not talking about him, but I just think that like the media outlets weren't trying to bring it out. Now that LeBron brought it up, everyone's saying Jerry Jones. Like it's like so.
Mhm.
LeBron does have influence, not
Yeah, it's
only
a
on just
platform.
people, but of people in the platform. He will challenge you. And I think this is what athletes should be doing. Is challenging the media to be better. Like,
Right.
hey, you guys can't do this to Black people or Black athletes and not the same white people or athletes, right? I do think though, we've seen white athletes get crucified. Like, remember when was it Drew Brees who talked about like, they're against certain things and like Kaepernick. Like we've seen
Mhm.
white players come out and say, "I was wrong. My colleague spoke to me about my why." Like like they come out, they apologize, whatever, but they said something. Kyrie didn't say anything, so I
Right.
just think that if we're gonna push something towards Kyrie, if we're that person that did that, like we discussed last week, I'm just happy that LeBron at the end of his interview said, "Y'all didn't say this, and no,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna answer questions about that." But it's funny how you guys had the energy for Kyrie like this, but not for Jerry Jones, right?
But
So
okay, I got to say this. LeBron, I feel like, um, and like I said, I'm not going to be negative. Shout out to LeBron, love everything. But he came out like when he was asked
say
about
it,
Kyrie
say it.
in the heat of it,
Mm-hmm.
he kind of threw Kyrie under the. He
No,
didn't want to be
he
associated.
absolutely did. You're right.
Right.
He
Okay.
did.
So it kind of feels like much like what you mentioned, the NFL and kneeling. There was a time when Kaepernick kneeled, players weren't openly willing to support him and kneel with him. They didn't start until it felt like it was more safe to kneel. You know what I'm saying? Like they weren't there from the start. They weren't day ones with it. It was just like, okay, it's kind of, they kind of felt the temperature and said, oh, it's okay to do this. Okay, and let's join in. I kind of feel like LeBron now, after just maybe like you said a few weeks ago, not supporting Kyrie, to kind of support him now because now it's more safe to support him. It's kind of like I just wish, and I can't say wish because I have no idea what it's like to be LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Because decisions you make, it's a domino effect, right? So
Yeah, and he has, and I think he knows that. But I'm gonna
right,
say this
right.
about LeBron. Do you think that when he spoke about Kyrie, that he was uneducated about the entire thing? Because I felt like he just said like stuff based on what he heard. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Mhm.
and it's my issue, right? It's like people were commenting about Kyrie, but I bet you nobody in Brooklyn or nobody in the Brooklyn media press or on the team or no one there watched that movie.
Right.
But
Or read the
hey,
book.
LeBron, your thoughts
Mhm.
on Kyrie? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like me, if I was there, hey, LeBron, did you watch the film that he retweeted or were you aware of the film? No, you weren't. Okay, so you saw the retweet. Okay, and people are outraged. Okay, well, we're going to ask you, how about you? Like, I just think that we're so quick to comment and not be educated
Mhm.
about that said thing. And something that like with Ime, that poor woman who was retweeted about saying she cheated on her husband when it wasn't even her, right? For him, like it's a trend here. And I think there's journalists and there's media people. And I think
Mhm.
I truly believe journalists look for the truth. They're actually researching stuff like that.
Good point.
Whereas media
Mhm.
folks, They
Right.
just want to get the best, like, hey,
What's clickbait?
Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, they're not really.
Right.
It's more about the content and not about the ad lib and about the statement and not about
Right.
the actual truth about behind the story. That's all I want to add.
No, that's an excellent point. I totally agree with that. Yeah. I've not got nothing else on that because you pretty much wrapped it up. That was a very good point in regards to media and journalists. And so see how you gave the example of the what you one if someone's
What I would have
responsible.
done, yeah, if I was in that
Right.
situation.
That's the responsible way of doing it. But LeBron, to his defense, wasn't getting questions framed like that.
He was not.
He was getting questions that was pretty much putting him in a position for the media to find out where does LeBron stand on this. And
I mean, listen, LeBron cannot be canceled. I'm saying right now.
Right.
He cannot be canceled.
Right. Well, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
He cannot.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
they try to cancel, like, come on, Faheem, like, the certain stars you just can't cancel, right?
So
because of their empire and what, like, he has his own stuff, like his own businesses.
100%.
Right? Like, it's not funded by other communities. You know what I'm saying? It's built by his friends. Like, he's actually built things within his community, which I think was a smart, where other people relied on other individuals and communities for their stuff.
Right, but Michael Jordan speaking past tense, Michael Jordan could not be canceled, but Michael Jordan didn't step up and I shouldn't.
Yeah, back then, yeah, like he was.
Yeah,
but keep in mind, he spoke about that. Like, he spoke on that, and reason, honestly, and I'm happy he addressed that in his documentary. For those who didn't watch Last Dance, he spoke on that. He was not educated and was not he didn't know enough to speak on things. And he was so obsessed with basketball and had like this weird possession of winning and competing. And it's kind of like Kevin Durant. Like, Kevin Durant reminds me of MJ a little bit because KD just wants to hoop. He don't like KD don't make comments. He don't tweet about a lot of, like, his podcast. He comments and stuff, but KD doesn't really talk about like those things, like the public issues, right? On his podcast, he'll address things because that's the platform that he controls. But you don't hear KD being questioned in the media about stuff like that ever, because KD is about basketball and hooping. He don't care about nothing else. And I just think that if MJ had LeBron's personality type, okay, but MJ and LeBron are like different people.
That was different, right?
And I'm happy MJ addressed the fact that, first of all, I wasn't educated. I didn't know much about what was going on. And for me, to be honest, I was so obsessed about hooping. Like, I dreamt basketball every night. I didn't have the mental capacity to do that. And honestly, like, someone like myself who has been an artist who's like focused, for example, for him, like, if you ever have to sing somewhere, like sing in a concert or perform in a concert, right? You're not thinking about anything else but that concert. It's hard to multitask like a performance or play in a tournament that's high pressured and think about other stuff. People could do both. I'm like, wow, y'all are amazing. But it's hard to do that while you have something pressing on your mind. And there's some people who can multitask, take on like 10 missions, programs, everything. And some folks can only focus on one thing, right? So I don't think MJ didn't care about his, because he still gave money back to his community throughout his career. He gave entire salary to not living victims. I just think that he did it in his own way, right? And it wasn't public. Like Prince gave money to everything and everyone until people don't tell anyone anything. Right. So folks go, oh well, Prince doesn't give back. Oh, he was giving back, right? So I just think that we just have to, like, the narrative of, well, Michael didn't say anything. Well, no, they weren't asking Michael his thoughts on the KKK back then. They weren't asking Michael his thoughts about a racist person. Media back then was about basketball, right? But if they asked him about that stuff, I think he would have answered it. To say that he wouldn't address it, I don't know. It's unfair. It's unfair, right?
And I guess I agree. So it is unfair, and I'm not trying to compare the two because back then, social media, like, athletes are more accessible now, just to general media, social media, and that's something that he didn't have to do back in the day. Back in the day, it was just basketball and sports media, and then sports media was
shut up and dribble. Translated for him. Shut up and dribble. That was their motto. Shut up and dribble. Like that was what they're doing.
Right. Nowadays, it's more of a collective. But it's funny that you mentioned. Actually, we are talking about LeBron and how he handled Kyrie. KD, in which, shout out to KD, very smart in how he maneuvers through this. He's a teammate of Kyrie. And imagine there's been multiple questions that he was being asked about this. Never once did he throw Kyrie under the bus at all. And he found a way to, get his point across without, I don't want to say incriminating himself, but without tying himself in, but yet finding a way to find support for his teammate.
Agreed.
Unlike LeBron, who's, at that first opportunity he had, wanted to distance himself from it for his own reasons. KD,
I mean, he is in LA, so
right. I get it. And maybe
that town is right.
who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe it might have been different. Maybe if KD was not a teammate of his, possibly he might have reacted different. But what I can say
I
is,
feel like KD is so even keel, yo. I feel like
I think he
you know
would
what I
have.
mean?
But I'm just speaking,
Yeah.
devil's advocate, saying, but yeah, KD found a way to support his teammate and still, make get his point across. So, shout out to, actually, I'm gonna shout them all out. Shout out to LeBron for finally coming out and supporting Kyrie, unlike the first time. And the good thing is he's now, this is the first, I think, of many, because now that he's kind of planted the seed, like letting people know, hey, you know what, I'm at a point right now where I am ready to speak up. It's a good thing that it's not a general pressuring from people. He's come out and said, listen, you guys didn't ask me this. I wish you did. He's opened the door for other, I guess, that's what I'm looking for. I guess other types of confrontation in regards to race. He's not going to shy away from it. Actually, unfortunately, he can't shy away from it now. You can't call out, the richest owner of, or the owner of the richest sports franchise, and talk about holding him accountable and you being open to that. And in the future, when things happen, shy away. So shout out to LeBron for actually stepping up right now in this point of his career and taking a leadership stand, not just on the court, but off the court also.
Yep, I agree.
Nelly J, let's keep this going with, you want to go for the culture?
All right. For the culture, we'd like to highlight individuals for the culture. And today we get to highlight, actually, Faheem, I think it's special that we had this individual because first I want to read you guys her credentials and let me see if y'all can guess it, right? So I'll say the name normally, but I want to just say we get to highlight. So this young lady, okay, I believe she has the most, or I would say she has already 9 Olympic medals, okay, under her belt. 9, okay. The only woman to have 6 golds. All she needs is 1 more to become the most decorated female Olympian in track and field history. In 2019, with her 12th World Championship medal, surpassed Usain Bolt for most decorated runner in the competition history. And she launched her own shoe brand and started a $200,000 grant for pro athlete moms. And that's why she's for the culture. So if you're not thinking about Miss Allyson Felix, hello. Okay. She was actually number 2 on Oprah's Daily, her top most decorated Black female athletes in the world. And Faheem, I really want to highlight her because Allyson Felix is not just an athlete. We talk about Kyrie, LeBron, these guys are all philanthropists. We spoke about Ben Simmons last week. And so many athletes of color are philanthropists. And I don't know, because of where we come from or what we've seen and our experiences, we just always want to give back and do something. Not all, but I would say there's so many that do it. And that's why I love this segment. So what she did recently was launch a childcare initiative to help athletic moms. And I think the biggest thing, especially when it comes to mothers, we've seen it with Serena Williams and so forth. You get pregnant, you have a child, C-section, there's emergencies. A lot of moms almost die from giving birth because giving birth, you can die from it. It's actually that extreme in your body, right? And so she realized that a lot of women athletes deal with post pregnancy or in pregnancy have severe issues. I know she had severe preeclampsia, which is a life-threatening condition. I think, Serena had the same thing as well. So she wanted to do something to help these athletes and, give back. And what really led to her push for these types of initiatives, when she got pregnant, Nike never had a policy for him for maternity leave, right? We saw this in the WNBA as well,
Yeah.
where athletes were upset that in the WNBA, I'm not even getting funding or support during my pregnancy. And that's why Skylar Diggins played, I think she played up until, was it her fourth or fifth month of pregnancy? I'm
Yeah, I
not
think
sure
it's
the
yeah.
exact
And you're right,
time.
about 4 or 5, like halfway through for sure. Because I
Halfway
remember
through,
it. I remember it might have even been 6 months. I remember it was a lot
very far
farther,
along.
yeah, much farther than I would have given any pregnant women to go. So
Yeah.
definitely, yeah. Go ahead.
So big up to NPR. So NPR reported, and they spoke with her about it, that she had to speak out against Nike. And they were willing at first to use her campaign about women and girls and, going through hardship and being able to compete. But Nike at the time were only willing to give her money, but not her other female athletes. And because of her protests against Nike, now, do you know that a lot of apparels, including Nike, had to change their policy to help women athletes when they go through pregnancy? Isn't that crazy that that wasn't a thing before? Like, you have to
Mm-mm.
protest to get this right for you. So big up to her for driving the initiative, and now athletes in different apparel companies, for athletic apparel companies, can now compete. But if they get pregnant, they're not going to lose money because they cannot pose and do their stuff.
Right.
So big up to that. Now, her what she's doing with their company now, it's called Saysh, Saysh. That's their sneaker brand. And so what they do is really cool, is that if someone gets pregnant, as you know, Fahim, with your wife, their feet gets bigger, right? It gets swollen. So you can trade in your shoe and get a bigger pair at no cost. Isn't that amazing?
So, uh, and what type of shoe? I just want to be
Oh yeah,
clarified.
so it's a sneaker brand, sneaker
Oh,
brand.
oh, yeah. Okay.
So, ladies, if you're about to get pregnant, if you're a mother, if you are whatever, if you're, trying to get pregnant, you know what I'm saying, girls, hey, want to support Allyson Felix. She is a woman of color, and she has literally helped women athletes, not only with their sponsorships and getting mat leave, she's even supporting us in this light. So, we're so quick to buy the other brands. I get it, but when I support brands owned by people of color. So just want to big up to her. Fahim, what's your thoughts? I know I said a lot, but
Mhm.
what's your thoughts on her and her initiatives, all the things she's done for women in the world?
So I think one, I think it really speaks to just kind of women athletes and how they're treated. Because
Mm-hmm.
I'll be 100% honest. If you were to ask me anything about Allyson Felix before me reading up on this, I would not know who she was. I'm glad that
Interesting.
off the top that you laid out her credentials of what she's achieved, because she's definitely got to be one of the most decorated female athletes, and she's in the United States, right? So she's from the United States. I'm just wondering, why is it hard for the United States to um, maybe make her more than just a Olympic 4 year marketing? I guess they must be, but I just don't, I think of the Jamaican sprinters, I think of Canadians, but I don't really, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, her name is not, what's the word I'm looking for? Her name isn't,
Isn't as big as you
it's not
think
a
it would
house,
be,
right? For
but
for
it's
for what
probably
she's
because her
accomplished, it should be a
sponsors aren't
household
as
name,
big. And I think
right?
having your own sneaker brand, a lot of companies, Adidas, those guys are going to be like, but
Mm-hmm.
I did think like women track stars don't get as much attention as the male. I
Right.
think
Okay.
like you have to have a certain look or be a big, social media person. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just not as big as, and maybe it's the sport. It could be the Olympics. It could be COVID. It could be, but yeah, like the what she's done in the Olympics, and I don't know, maybe because she ran a 400 meter, 4x4.
True.
Maybe she
Right.
ran like 100 meter. I
Kind of
think
middle
100
distance,
meter
right?
are the rock stars. 400 meters, they're
Hmm.
stars. But if she
Right.
ran even a 200 meter, I think. Actually, no, I think she did run 200 meter. I believe in her career too.
Okay.
She ran, yeah. So she ran. Let's see, she ran 100 meter in London. Was a personal best though. She ran 150, 200, and 400. So she's run like all pretty much all types of you know but I don't think she's won. But she's won. Yes, she's won in 200. Well, she made it to the quarterfinals stuff like that. So she competes. But that's the thing. I just think because like she wasn't like I don't know. It could be just because she hasn't won 100 meter yet. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, and also I think it's kind of unfortunate that it feels like, and not just speaking in track and field, but in like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned with Skylar Diggins, um, pregnancy can really, it's kind of like even in music also. So we're not just gonna leave it to sports, but just it kind of feels in general. If you're a woman and you have a career, um, you know, being pregnant it's something that can kind of hold you back when that really shouldn't be the case. Like in music, you have an artist uh, gets pregnant. They, you know, it's not really celebrated in those cases. A lot of times managers would be like, oh, you know what, like, because you can't go on the road, you can't perform,
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? And not just not just the time that you're pregnant, but also post pregnancy also, what I'm saying? So for her to be an athlete, uh, and support and actually provide an initiative that's going to not have a woman athlete feel like there's something negative to her pregnancy, but provide her with the resources to make her pregnancy just make her pregnancy just uh, easy, I guess, if it,
Mm-hmm.
just an easy way to just kind of promote it. I think it's great. It's just a shame that it's. I wonder if say they took a higher profile athlete. Let's pick of say Sue Bird. Okay, I'll throw Sue Bird. Say she's more of
I
a
mean,
high.
Sue Bird's a high profile athlete
Yeah.
either.
Okay. So give me
The reason the highest profile female athletes are in tennis for him. Naomi
Serena. There we go.
Osaka and Serena.
Thank you.
Everyone
Okay.
else is like, this is the thing about women athletes. Like,
Mm-hmm.
those two are just so, like, you know what I'm saying? They're the pinnacle, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone else just below them, right? And I'm hoping, I'm wondering who's going to be the next big, like, Serena's retired. Naomi is, you know, I think it could be Coco. You mentioned her, but I just think that women athletes that are in, like, women athletes, especially in track, I really do see. I hope we see a change in that because, Elaine, all the guys who watch track, we all love, the whole Jamaican like track
Mm-hmm.
stars, right? Like Shelly Ann, Elaine, like
Mm-hmm.
that we all love them, and it's like, but they're in the Caribbean, right? They're not American, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just think that whenever America gets a superstar athlete that is aesthetically pleasing to the masses, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna see another boom. I think though if Allison was doing what she did in the 90s, 2000s, if she was doing, sorry, 2000, 2010s, she was doing that, Fahim, in like now, I think she'd be huge, like bigger,
Mm-hmm.
but
But
because she did it back then there wasn't the social media. Back then they didn't have the, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like she won for 2 decades pretty much, you know what I mean? So
But
like it
Serena,
didn't
I think
have that.
Serena's a very good example to this because Serena, and now mind you, Serena got pregnant toward the end of her career. Um, but let's say for instance, she's in the height of her career
Mm-hmm.
and she were to be pregnant. Do you think it would be like? How do I say this? I don't think that there'd be a lot of support for her. The other thing is, oh, she's throwing her career away. You know what I'm saying? In the height of her career, she could be winning X amount of titles going forward, but yet she's going to, miss an entire cycle of tennis for this child, and then she has to be a mother. And being a mother, and you don't really see a lot of high-profile athletes who are juggling both their career and also being a mother. And I think that's something that it's got to, as time goes on, that's going to have to change. And I think this initiative here is, I think they really got to push for this a little harder to make it more known. Like an initiative like this should be, I'd hope. I know we're speaking about it, but we don't have the influence of, say, for instance, the big networks, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like even, I highly doubt that on any of the big networks, this even made a ticker anywhere for anyone to
Yeah,
mention, you
it
know?
probably they mention it in like the commentary, But I do
Okay.
want to add one initiative that I didn't add yet. So her
Mhm.
last year running was in 2021. So that
Right.
was last year. And so her last initiative that she did do, so we spoke about her going up against Nike, demanding them to change their maternity leave, her
Mm-hmm.
dedicating her shoes, helping maternal or mothers to be when if their feet get bigger, they can get free shoes coming in. Her latest initiative was where she worked with Athleta. That's a nonprofit group and Mother to provide childcare to athletes, coaches, and staff at the U.S. Track and Field Championships, and then and any teammates or two-time role. So what she did was also co-founded by her other teammate Alicia Montano. So what they did was it was called the Women's Sport Foundation, and it was providing childcare grants to female athletes of 10,000 for childcare expenses needed so they may train and compete. And um and they were awarded more than 200,000 in those grants. So now not only are you making sure Nike and these guys change their policies, you're
Mm-hmm.
also, ensuring that your teammates or folks on the team that are mothers or have children, because you have to train, but kids are not cheap for him. You know that,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So the fact that you can get $10,000 in a grant so you can actually train, and something that Kyrie did with the WNBA. He
Right.
gave them money so they didn't have to compete during COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
So stuff like this is so important to highlight because you know, um, these women were able to train and get grants, and a grant isn't a loan; it's a grant. It's take
Right.
it, go
Take
ahead
it.
with it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So, yeah, like she's definitely, not only is she an athlete that was successful and got to corrected, she did win, I think, 100-meter gold, like I think world or junior championships and whatnot in her career.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But in the Olympics, though, she won like 200 and 4x4, 4x1. But the 100, she never medaled in the 100-meter in the Olympics. But she has medaled in like the work athletic stuff and so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
again, the
I,
most decorated track and field athlete in America ever. You know what I'm
mm-hmm.
saying? Like in the US. She passed Carl Lewis. So I mean, not only are you one of the best, talk about, men versus women. In track, you can't do that because you're both competing in your own sport. It's all about how much medals do you make, right?
Right.
So
So,
yes, Carl may be the better athlete because he's a man, but she's won more than him in regards to her competition. So
all right. I just want to close out my spot with a direct quote from her because I read this and I think
mhm.
it's very telling to the purpose and reason why she's doing it. She says, "Quote: In track and field, the culture around pregnancy was silence. Athletes would either hide pregnancies to secure their contracts, or the contracts were in place, put on hold, almost like they had an injury." She
Mm.
said, "I felt like I was being used in multiple marketing campaigns to tell women and girls that they could do anything, when internally I was having such a hardship. When I was asking for, when I was asking for was what I was asking for was a woman that has a baby to have the time to recover and be able to get back to top form. And essentially, they told me that I could have the time, but they weren't ready to give all female athletes the time, and they weren't willing to tie anything to pregnancies in the contract. So for me, that was a real issue, and that was a sticking point." End quote. So I love that she's covered all the bases of why she's doing it. She's holding them accountable, and she's a pioneer in this. So I just really hope that this gets a lot more light shined on it, because if you have one of the most decorated women athletes in track and field who's going through this and actually coming out and making this making this an issue, that's something that people can actually hold, because going before this, maybe you're right. Serena would be kind of the I won't say the poster child for, but you think Serena, you think Skylar Diggins, for what she's doing. it's in that lane, and I think maybe even beyond, because she's actually fully advocating for not just her, but for the future coming after her. So enough respect to her.
Yeah, I do want to big up again this story. Great story, uplifting. Like, this is how you make change, right? We talk about all the things we don't like, but we just have to do initiatives, guys. We have to push the envelope, challenge our bosses, challenge diversity, inclusion, and challenge for people that don't have what we have, right? So I love that she not only thought about herself, but the other women athletes overall, right? So this was actually heard on the Morning Edition. Pick up Olivia Hampton for this article at NPR. And yeah, man, Allyson Felix, y'all, is for the culture.
That's right. All right, so why don't we close this out with That's Absurd.
That's absurd. Faheem, bro, what was absurd this week? What was absurd?
You know what? Why don't we keep it in the same lane of women and the treatment of women? This is so absurd. The Las Vegas Invitational. It's a women's college basketball tournament during Thanksgiving. And the women, these are top 10 women's teams. They were playing in a hotel ballroom without spectators and bleachers.
What the hell?
Once again, I'll wheel that back. Before I get that, the top 10 college women's basketball team during Thanksgiving were playing in a hotel ballroom without bleachers and spectators in 2022 over Thanksgiving.
Absurd.
Go ahead, Nelly.
Absurd. Faheem, listen, bro. You know what this reminds me of? Okay. It reminds me of that meme of Homer Simpson going back.
Oh, yeah, into the grass, in the bushes.
Like, bro, no, like, for real, guys. Like, if I were to like go there, no, imagine, hey guys, tournament. I go there and then I'll be like, oh, listen, to be honest, if this was me and I was a coach, and y'all, this is why I can't be a coach, y'all. But you know what, y'all? Let's have fun in Vegas, guys. Let's just have fun. Like stuff's been paid for. Do you want to play or not? It's just a disrespect. I get it, guys. I know. Maybe different sponsorships, but the Invitational should have told them what they'll be playing in, right? Like, and then if they say, you know what, we want to come, we come. You don't expect to go to Vegas, but Vegas has the most beautiful like venues. Great, like it's fun. You're telling me that y'all couldn't inform them of the conditions of this tournament? Right. Come on, guys. Like, I'm not. And then if they decide to go Faheem, then they're going into a situation where they're aware of. I just feel like women, sports, these college athletes are always blindsided by terrible conditions. It's not okay.
So let me ask you this, Nelly J. Say, for instance, they were aware. Okay, say they told them, because I heard the story. I didn't hear that they weren't aware. Okay, well, there you go. That makes it even worse.
Typically,
right?
What they do is Invitational. Here's the address. Here's the location. They don't tell you what you're going to be like, what it would look like. Yeah.
Okay, so two-part. Well, I mean, if they were told the address and location, I'm pretty sure they would Google it, see, it's at the Hyatt Hotel.
It's in the same hotel as the men's, but you saw the men's venue.
Right. Okay. So the men's venue, it looked like a place that was seating 5,000 people. So, go from 5,000. Now, let's keep it a buck before we close this out, though. The men's tournament is going to have more spectators than the women's tournament. I think we can agree with that.
No, I mean, and that's fair, right? I don't think the women want to play. We're going to play in the same male, in the same male venue. But my thing is that you couldn't find, even if it's further away. Faheem, there's so many. Listen, man, when you go to Vegas, there's a tournament for ball there all the time. Like,
for sure.
There's so many venues, Faheem. You're telling me you guys can get a venue that you guys can provide to highlight these women college athletes, that was actually quite better. You know what I mean? This kind of reminds me of like the Fire Festival, like it's just like, you're like, what? No, like, honestly, like, bro, like, what are we doing here? You know what I'm saying?
So, on the way out, this is the disheartening thing about this entire situation. We just mentioned it for the culture, how, a great advocate for pregnancies with women athletes. That's something that we've known has been going on for a while, we have someone standing up. We've discussed this before. Remember with the women and their facilities during the bubble, during the pandemic. And weren't the women also during the pandemic in subpar conditions playing also?
Yeah, I
So,
remember their weight room was like, those hotel rooms with a small weight room. Yeah.
right, right. So,
Mhm.
and the thing is, that was brought to everyone's attention. Everyone was aware of that. That was 2 years ago during the pandemic. Um, so nothing's obviously changed because
See,
everyone was at an outrage during the pandemic that happened. But
yo,
here
but
we
for
are 2 years
he,
later, and they're going through the same thing. So,
bruh,
mhm.
bro, what makes it real? First of all, I gotta shout out Deadspin. Deadspin is hilarious. So they started this article saying apparently Ja Rule was called for advice on how to set up a college basketball tournament. Dead, okay. But they also said that according to the Big Ten Network's Megan McCowan, players were advised to bring towels to the game from their hotel rooms because the
Oh,
tournament didn't provide any for the players. Yo,
wow. So if this was the first time that like something like if the pandemic didn't if this didn't happen 2 years ago, then this was something we can maybe get a little chuckle about it and figure they're going to fix it. That's how bad it is. They didn't fix it before. They didn't fix it 2 years later. They're probably not going to fix it 2 years down the future. It's not something that's not going to change, and that's what sucks about this. Go
well,
ahead.
Fahim, I want to add some more context because
Mm.
thank Deadspin for all the tea, right? Give me all the tea, Deadspin. Okay. During the game, apparently as well, it took about 40 minutes for the medical personnel to arrive to the scene. The game was delayed for close to an hour. ESPN's Emmy Vogel reported that one of the site coordinators apologized to all the participants and fans for how poorly the tournament was organized. And Bryce McKee was a tournament organizer, but was not in Vegas over the weekend for the event. Bing! Also, um, the tournament was sold to the Indiana team, claiming that it would be similar to the Athletes Unlimited Professional League setup. That one was played at a convention center and it went fairly well. And they said the only similarity is that the same court was used.
Horrible, horrible.
um, Fahim,
So,
bro. So
so
this guy organized a tournament, didn't show up because he knew how trash it was gonna be. And told people, and people had to bring their own hotel room towels to dry off their skin when they sweat upon the court. Yeah, nah, dog. This is, and again, this is about
absurd.
the Indiana Auburn game that happened. So I am, bruh, the same way how the Fire Festival was sued. Fahim,
Mm.
can they sue this? Like, can they sue this guy? Honestly, this
Mm.
is worse than I thought it was for Heat. Like, I saw
Mm.
the picture, I go, this was awful. But now seeing it, and again, I gotta big up the writer Stephen Knox for that Fire Festival, because that is so true. Go ahead, Fahim.
No, um, yeah, I think that's not a way that we should really end the episode because it's we talking about how absurd it is. It's actually kind of depressing because yeah, it's absurd if we're getting a joke about it, but it's like we're not. It's nothing's going forward with this. Women
Well, I mean,
athletes.
yeah, I think now women colleges, when you get an invite, yo, provide images of what we're gonna of the conditions,
Okay,
right?
and say they provide the
And even,
information. Mhm.
but even like, I feel like the NCAA should also be policing these stuff. Like,
That's
you
what I,
cannot sell tournaments to any of the colleges in America unless you follow these guidelines and policies,
right,
right?
right.
There's, and I know they had that in place for him, but they have to be more stringent now. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like, it's happened twice.
It almost feels like I did mention about the pandemic, the unfortunate George Floyd situation, and after that, everybody was on trying to make reparations, be friends with black and pander. Shout out to Andrew Miller with that word. I love that. Pander
Pandering
to
to
the
the
black
blacks.
people. Pander to the blacks, right?
Ooh,
Um, but
get
after the
that
after
soundbite.
after the situation or after it was done, it went back to status quo. You know what I'm saying? Are we really that much farther ahead than we were before the George Floyd situation? Really, in the big picture,
Um, I
okay.
think we've made. I mean, farther. I mean, I think we're farther, but I don't think it's like that much far. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think
Okay.
it's a we've taken a step. I think
Mhm.
people. I'll say this: a lot of people now are more aware, of what's going on, And one thing I would say that really helped with the George Floyd situation, I see in Canada, I can speak for anyone, but in Canada, there's so much more initiatives for diversity in the workplace and inclusion. There's so much more education of people of color and non on the experience that they face. And most companies are do have a panel or have a group, and their job is to push diversity in their company. And that wouldn't have happened without George Floyd. So,
Right.
so breaking barriers, man, listen, guys, this country was built on colonization, white supremacists, and racism. It had slavery, 500 years, guys. So it's not going to happen, like you said, overnight. But I think we took a quantum step.
Okay.
Oh my, quantum particle step.
Quantum micro step. Wow.
A micro, no, quantum is less than micro, but sorry, I'll say a nano.
Nano.
Well, quantum is smaller than nano, so I'll say nano step.
A nano step. Okay.
Nano
okay.
Step.
No, okay. And that's where we want to have this episode on a high. So hopefully, women's NCAA basketball, they build on this nano step for next year.
Yes. Oh man.
Okay. And that's how we'll tie up the episode.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So Nelly J, let's put this episode in the books.
Y'all, that was the Good Rookie Show.
Yep.
So y'all, first of all, guys, thank you for tuning in. That was a fun episode for him. I don't know about you, but guys, that episode was really random. We kind of didn't really plan on some of those topics. We just kind of went with it. So, yo, for him, like this is great. I'm like, we just kind of talk about that. So, anyways, so I just think that there is really a few things. But anyways, this time we want to do a shout out. So I want to shout out a few, I would say ladies. Who actually, first shout out, her name is Stephanie Frappart. She was the first woman to take charge of the men's World Cup game when she handled the Germany versus Costa Rica in Qatar. So she was the very first to do so. FIFA also picked 2 women assistants, which was Nusa Back of Brazil and then Mexico's Karen Diaz Medina. Okay, so and Stephanie is from France. She's French. So I just think it's great, Faheem, to have these ladies, ref. We're seeing more women, more diversity in referee roles. And I think it's great. But I also think if we're refereeing in a men's sport, you have to, be able to handle it too, right? And these women can handle all of it. So I'm just really, as a woman, I'm like, wow, I never thought Faheem I'd ever see a woman ref a World Cup. To be honest, like I don't think I even thought about it or thought it was a possibility, to be honest. So the fact that these women are breaking barriers like this, those young girls watching the World Cup will be like, wow, look, I can be that too one day. So just love seeing that, that was done in this World Cup of 2022.
Nice. Let me kind of piggyback on just a bit about that. You mentioned women and referees. I want to shout out the VAR in the World Cup. And the reason why it might seem random, but how when they have the offsides and they have this line and it's a shadow and it shows, and goals are getting maybe turned back by just someone's literally their heel being offside. I want to shout out technology. And if they didn't have the accuracy of that VAR, which I understand VARs, they don't always get it right. But I think it's cool that they have the technology that's going to show literally to the frame of, you could be you mentioned was it a nano? This is like a nano fraction offside, and that's a goal that normally under circumstances would count, and they got pulled back. I just want to shout out technology and just how the World Cup. I've never seen it. I've seen the offside line in every World Cup get better. I don't know how they can actually build on how they're showing the offside line with the VAR in the World Cup. I think it's amazing. So shout out to that.
What's crazy though, a lot of fans don't like it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, man. If you tweet VAR, I like it. Yo, man, you're enough. Like what's going on? Yeah, a lot of fans don't like it.
So is it
a lot of
don't like
goals have
because
been
it's too
overturned.
accurate? Okay.
No, because they've overturned goals, given
Hmm.
goals, and some fans
Right.
were
Yeah.
free. You know how it is.
Yeah.
So
And I totally
so
get
I
it.
mean, it is what it is. I just think that it's always gonna be. I mean, nothing is right. Right? Sports. Even with
Hmm.
like the slow motion, when we call challenges in the NBA, we're like, oh, the refs didn't give us a challenge. It is what it is. So
Hmm.
I just think it's interesting. But yeah, like technology is involved in sports, Fahim,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
we like growing up, we didn't have like replays and all this like, like hey, let's make sure that the basket was a 3 out of 2. Like what?
Right.
It's
Right.
technology is and visualizing. It's getting bigger and bigger all the time. So yeah, great shout out. But
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
wouldn't shout out the robot because after watching iRobot, Fahim,
I
like
didn't watch
we are may come for you, we are family, bro. I'm joking. They will come for your family.
uh, also on the way out.
Guys, we know that Fahim is siding with the robots, guys. Just know, there's ever a robot versus human, Fahim will not be on our side at all.
uh, also on the way out before we close it out, we were just talking about women and pregnancies, and I want to shout out to my wonderful, lovely wife who is now pregnant and going through pregnant stuff. So
Pregnant stuff. Big up to Aisha. Yo,
big up to wifey. She's a real one. And on
love
that note,
that.
let's put
Actually,
it in
good
the books.
job. Talking about pregnant women, all this stuff, and then bring up your wife. I'd have been like, bruh. Even I brought it up earlier on. So anyway, see, guys, this is how you be a husband, y'all. Take notes, okay? If you're not sure how to call, message for him. He'll let you know what to do. Okay. All right, y'all.
All right. So let's put this episode in the books.
Yeah, it's a good rookie show. If you had a good time and you enjoyed yourself, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. Fahim.
We're on all platforms if you're looking for us. That's Good Rookie Show. We out.
Peace.
Peace.